and welcome to my channel. My name is Jasmine Starry, and today's episode is about sleep paralysis. Now, to start off, I have two experiences of my own regarding sleep paralysis. The first time it happened, I was at home. I was sleeping. I woke up. I actually felt the air from the air conditioning blowing my face. And then I opened my eyes. I looked at the air conditioner vent above me. Then I looked to the right where the window was, and I saw it was light outside. So it was daytime. It was a weekend. And I looked to my left. I saw this, it was like a shadow of a shark. And it came in from the ceiling, and it came from the outside of the door. It came from the outside of the door from the ceiling, and then it just glided across the ceiling, and it came from the wall towards my face. And I couldn't move. I only could move my eyes. That's the only thing that could move was my eyes. I was actually sleeping in my bed with my dogs. I was in the middle. I had one dog on each side. They didn't bark or anything. They didn't hear anything. They weren't affected by it. I was just paralyzed. I kept trying to say Jesus, but I was just struggling to say it. And when I finally said it, the shadow disappeared. So I wasn't too scared about it. I just had my Bible next to me on a nightstand. I read like 2 pages, and then I was fine to go back to sleep, and I was fine. The second time this happened, well, actually, for context, when the first time it happened, I watched a scary movie on Netflix. It was a Bollywood movie. I can't remember the name of this movie, but the movie was about a little girl, and her feet were backwards. The Bollywood movie had subtitles. But the little girl's feet were backwards. I'm not sure if she was injured or some kind of birth defect, but her feet were backwards, and I just realized from then I'm going to stop watching scary movies. And the second time this happened to me, the sleep paralysis, I was on a cruise ship, and it was going from Miami to the Bahamas. And I was laying on my back, and I remember waking up, my eyes open, but I couldn't move like the first time. And I couldn't see anything, so I couldn't move my head, but I could hear it. And whatever it was, it was like a toddler. It was small, whatever it was. I could hear the little footsteps running fast around the bed. And then I felt whatever it was jump into the bed. Now, whatever it was very lightweight. It wasn't like a heavy 200-pound person, maybe like a 8, 9, 10-pound dog, like a Chihuahua or a Yorkie, whatever. But I felt it jump in the bed, and then I heard it jump off the bed because I could hear the little feet running around. And finally, when it left my cabin, I was able to get up, move around. I got out of bed. I looked around the room. Of course, the cabin room was empty. I'm the only person in there. I looked in the closet. I looked in the bathroom. Then I opened the door. Looked down both hallways. Didn't see anyone. Didn't see anything. And that night, before I went to bed, I didn't watch any TV. If you've ever been on a cruise before, you know that there's really nothing to watch on the cruise unless you get the internet package and then bring your own Fire Stick. Other than that, you really have very few channels that you're limited to watching. So that was my stories, and here's some more. So reading from Reddit, this happened a few years ago, but I remember it like it happened yesterday, and probably won't forget it. It was a weird day. I was home alone, and even though there was a lot of stimuli around me, it felt awfully silent and depressing. I never felt that way before. I tried diverting my attention with the sense that we humans have forgotten cause we aren't the hunted anymore was at peak that day. And let me remind you, I'm not usually scared of the paranormal, but this feeling made me search my whole house 2 times because I felt like I was in danger. I found nothing, but the feeling didn't go away. So I went to the TV room and locked myself in the TV room and turned it on with the full volume to drown out the weird silence. The feeling remained, but I was able to ignore it. Soon, it became nighttime, so I went to my room to sleep. I didn't want my siblings to return and make fun of me because I was scared. I kept my door slightly open for a little light to seep in through the hallway. After a few minutes on my phone, I finally went to sleep. I don't remember having any dreams, but woke up in the middle of the night, unfortunately completely paralyzed. I could only move my eyes to see my room. It used to happen to me a lot, so I didn't make a big deal out of it until I looked to my left. There was something almost out of my sight, but I could see a little of it. I couldn't turn my head to look at it, but was trying my hardest to see what it was. From the little I could see, it was standing on the floor, but was watching me from the top left corner of my room. I honestly thought that it might be some clothes making it seem like a figure until I heard it. I heard it giggling. It felt like it giggled in my left ear, but I could see it was still up in that corner. I closed my eyes, still believing that it's just the sleep paralysis. I think it didn't like me closing my eyes. My bed was big and there was a lot of room still on it. My bed almost reached the left wall of my room. I heard the giggling stop as I closed my eyes, but now I could feel it walk. It was on my bed walking. It was heavy. You know how you can sense when someone's walking on the bed? I could hear it jump down on the floor. Now I know for a fact it's at the end of my bed. Curiosity and fear made me open my eyes a little. It was gone, but then I saw the little light that was seeping through the hallway suddenly put out like a candle. The door was in front of my bed. I saw its claws on the door, its hands stretching out from the darkness behind the door. I couldn't see its body, just its claws. I closed my eyes now and tried my best to move over forward to get over. I could hear it walking towards me, giggling. Seeing me struggling to get out of the paralysis was fun for it. I still believe it's just a sleep paralysis and it couldn't touch me. I almost started moving until I felt its claws on my forehead. Oh my God. Like a knife, it slowly moved its claws down my face. It was agonizing, like it was cutting my face open. It went down my neck, finally reaching my chest. It opened its claws and kept them on my chest. They were very cold, until I started feeling pressure. It went to the point I was grasping for air. I felt like it was going to open my mouth. I started praying, begging for help from God, because I knew He was the only one there to help me. I fainted while praying for help. I woke up again later in the night, finally able to move, but still gasping for air. I found my way to the door in the darkness and opened it. I stumbled my way towards the kitchen, where I emptied a whole bottle of water, completely drowsy. I thought it was sleep paralysis. I wanted to think it was until I realized I had to open my door to get to the kitchen. But I remember keeping it open when I went to sleep. Oh my God, that's so scary. So whatever it was did close this person's door. I've experienced sleep paralysis a few times in my life. The first time was the worst. Back then, I didn't even know that something like sleep paralysis existed. I was probably around 13 or 14 at the time. I remember waking up and hearing a really loud scraping sound. I thought it was my father because his legs are sick, and that's the sort of sound he's making when he's walking. I remember tried moving, but I couldn't do anything at all. I could barely breathe. I couldn't close my eyes. I couldn't make any sound at all. I was starting to panic. That's really trying to say something or just move a little bit. The sound was getting louder and louder to the point that I could barely stand it. I also started feeling pressure on my chest. That's when I saw a strange head in front of me. I remember the head being male, skinny, bald. Its ears were sticking out, and it had a sort of bluish color. The head started talking to me, but the only thing it was saying was, "You have to warn her." After it said that, the head started to fade away. After it was gone, I started regaining control of my body. I was completely terrified, and my heart was beating like crazy. I remember I went to my computer and just typed something like, "Woke up and couldn't move at night." I was kind of relieved when I started reading about it. I've had other experiences, but there was no head anymore. Usually just I couldn't move and had trouble breathing, and just had to lay there for what it felt like minutes. I can also vaguely remember a sort of demonic figure with wings sitting on my chest once. I was calmer other times though, as I already knew what to expect. Although I would lie if I said I was not scared at all. Another encounter that I remembered didn't actually happen to me. My ex came over for the night. We were sleeping together, and she suddenly woke me up. She was covered in sweat. She was shaking and breathing heavily. She actually knew about sleep paralysis because I told her about my encounters with it. She told me that she woke up laying towards me and she couldn't move. She was scared. Then she started hearing a really loud laugh, like maniacal laugh. She then noticed this huge grin on my face to the point that she could barely see my teeth. She said it was terrifying. After she woke me up, she was just sitting at the end of the bed, staring at me. It took me a while to calm her down. She said it was the most terrifying thing that has ever happened to her. I have to say that it scared me a bit too. Fortunately, I haven't had any additional sleep paralysis encounters for the last 6 months. I've had the misfortune of experiencing sleep paralysis demons on and off for most of my life. But after the first experience, and before I read up on the subject, I was completely convinced I was being haunted by some malevolent ghost. In hindsight, when it happened, I'm pretty sure I was asleep, but at the time, I felt as though I was still half awake. I had just come off night shift, and it was mid-morning. There was some light in my room, and although my eyes were closed, I could still see around my room. I almost felt like it was a lucid dream. I heard a soft voice whisper in my ear, say, "Hello." I was not yet afraid. It sounded as though someone wanted to say hi, but wanted to wake me up gently. I wanted to respond, but my vocal cords, along with the rest of my body, were completely paralyzed. So I said, "Hello," back in my head. The next thing I heard was a loud hissing, "F you," in the most spiteful and vicious tone I've ever heard. Even though light was shining through the windows, my room instantly became darker, and I was immediately terrified. It took all my strength and effort just to open my eyes, and when I did, everything went back to normal. I also share a recurring event that plagued me through my early childhood, and it's probably the reason I slept with a nightlight on until I was about 8 years old. The first few times this occurred, I thought my parents were playing a trick on me. I would be lying in the bed in that weird state, most likely asleep, but feeling as though I was aware of my surroundings. I would feel a death grip, hand tickling me on my knee or the back of my hamstring. I would try to kick my leg or reach out with my hand, but even thinking about doing so made the grip tighter and tighter until I forced to wake myself up. I thought at first my parents were tickling me in my sleep, then running up to hide as soon as I woke up. Then came the vivid visual and auditory hallucinations. It always started with a breathing sound in my ear, and it made me feel as though there was something else in the room with me. Again, I would have this awareness of my surroundings, but there would be something out of place in my room that would clue me that something was not right. I might notice a toy out of place, but it was usually a corner that was darker than it should be. Or my closet door would be open and exposed to light from the hallway, but inside was completely pitch black. I'm not sure where I thought of the name, but I called it the skin. It was this featureless dark shape that moved around my room, always starting from a dark spot and always giving me the death grip tickle that got worse and worse and was impossible to break until I forced myself to wake up. I'm a staunch atheist, and I do not believe in the supernatural, but even after all these years of writing, this still creeps me out, and there is one thing that challenged my convictions, is that these are very real, very scary experiences.